Welcome to the NPC Energy Podcast. This is our weekly exploration, asking, is reality just a really advanced simulation? Were those glitches in the Matrix, maybe? Maybe early access features?
It's a fascinating question to keep asking.
Definitely. So today, we're starting a simulated journey, looking into ideas like mind control, mentalism, and suggestibility.
And how that might connect to this whole NPC concept.
Exactly. Could it be that people who seem really, really susceptible to influence are maybe like the non-player characters in this simulation we might be in?
It's the thought that suddenly makes things like, say, telepathy seem different, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe it's not mystical at all. Maybe it's just like a different kind of network access, of accessing the
A
code.
different permission level within the system.
So let's get into it. That slightly uncomfortable question. Are we maybe surrounded by more NPCs than we think? Okay, you know that feeling. That moment when you're watching someone and you just get this kind of itchy feeling.
Like their response feels a bit too rehearsed.
Yeah, exactly. Little too predictable. A little too much like they're just running a script.
Right. It feels less like a spontaneous human thing and more like a preset sequence just playing out.
Think about the barista, the one who says the exact same goodbye, same tone, no matter what you ordered or said.
Or that colleague who seems to buffer sometimes, gets stuck maybe repeating the same phrase or story.
Yeah. It's that feeling when someone just seems to lack that spark of spontaneity.
No real independent interaction happening there.
And that's where the internet, bless its heart, gave us NPC energy.
Ah, yes, the term.
It's basically become shorthand, hasn't it? For people who seem to be operating on these pre-programmed loops, maybe lacking independent thought.
And it comes directly from gaming, of course. NPCs, non-player characters.
Right. They're the AI characters in games, scripted actions, limited choices. They just exist in the game world.
So you see someone maybe just blindly following a trend or echoing some narrative without really thinking about it.
And the gamer brain just goes, NPC.
Yeah. It popped up online, sometimes used, politically maybe, for people just repeating talking points.
It's a way to sort of categorize people who seem to just absorb and repeat stuff passively.
But, underneath the meme and the humor, there are some pretty deep questions there.
Oh, absolutely. Questions about consciousness, free will. Like, is everyone experiencing reality with the same level of agency?
Does the spectrum of human experience include people who operate differently? Maybe more influenced by outside stuff? Less internal autonomy? Makes you wonder.
So maybe we should quickly define NPC for anyone not steeped in gaming lore. In the digital world, what is it?
Okay, yeah. So in a video game, an NPC is run by the game's AI, artificial intelligence, not a human player.
They have specific jobs, specific behaviors programmed in.
Right, think of the shopkeeper, always has the same few lines of dialogue.
Or the guards walking the same path over and over, the villagers just milling about.
Exactly. Their actions are scripted, predictable, they serve a function in the game, they make the world feel alive for the actual player, but they don't have real independent thought. They can't really break their programming.
And this idea, this term, it jumped out of gaming into, general internet talk. Around the mid-2010s, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right. NPC became a metaphor, usually for people who seem to show similar traits, like not thinking for themselves.
Lacking critical thinking, originality maybe.
Right. Someone just following the herd, repeating opinions without really engaging. They might get called an NTC. It suggests they're not forming their own ideas, just running on these sort of preset responses.
But we have to be careful here, don't we?
Absolutely vital. Calling a real person an NTC can be really dismissive. Dehumanizing, even.
Yeah, it shuts down any real conversation. It ignores all the complex reasons someone might believe or act the way they do.
You can't just label people we don't understand.
True. But that underlying question, the idea that maybe people have different levels of agency or are more or less susceptible to influence, that gets really interesting when you look at the psychology, the idea of suggestibility. So let's shift gears from internet slang to actual psychology. What does suggestible really mean?
Well, psychologically speaking, suggestibility is just about how much someone accepts and then acts on suggestions from other people. It's fundamental to social influence, really, and we're all on that spectrum somewhere.
So everyone's suggestible. Like if I keep saying, don't scratch that itch, you might start feeling itchy.
Exactly like that. Simple example, but yeah. But there is a chunk of the population, maybe 10 to 15%, who are considered highly hypnotizable, they show a much higher level of suggestibility.
Highly hypnotizable. What does that actually look like? What can happen?
Well, for these individuals, hypnosis can lead to pretty significant changes, alterations in their perception, their memory, even voluntary actions. They're just much more responsive to the suggestions given.
Okay, but is that just meaning they're like weak-minded, easily tripped?
No, not at all. Research suggests hypnotizability is actually a pretty stable cognitive trait. It seems linked to certain cognitive styles, like a high capacity for absorption, getting really deeply immersed in experiences, and maybe how people manage their attention.
It's more about how their brain is wired to process information.
Exactly, not a weakness.
Okay. Which then brings us to stage hypnotists and mentalists. They do some stuff that looks, well, incredible what's actually happening there.
Yeah, stage hypnotists, mentalists, they're often very skilled at tapping into this natural variation. They can sometimes spot people who are likely to be highly suggestible.
And then they use tricks.
Psychological techniques,
Yeah.
not supernatural powers. They create the illusion of mind control or amazing mental feats.
Okay, techniques. Like what are they actually doing?
Well, there are a few key things. One is cold reading.
Cold reading.
Making high probability guesses, general statements, and then watching the person's reactions, their nods, their body language, and refining the guesses based on that feedback makes it seem like they know specific details.
Clever. What else?
Suggestion and priming. Subtly planting ideas or words to influence later choices. They also exploit cognitive biases, those mental shortcuts our brains take that can lead to predictable mistakes.
Things we all do.
Things we all do. And finally, just pure showmanship. Creating an atmosphere of authority and belief makes people want to believe and become more open to suggestion.
So it's psychology, not mind reading. Got it. But how does this tie back to our NPC energy idea?
Well, think about it. If, say, 10–15% of people are naturally much more open to accepting external influence, someone looking through that simulation lens might interpret that differently.
How so?
They might see it as a kind of pre-programmed trait. Maybe these individuals are designed to adhere more easily to social norms or be swayed by the narratives within the simulation, like they're built to follow the rules more readily.
Like their base code is just more receptive, more open to external commands almost.
That's the speculative jump, yeah. In a simulation, maybe highly suggestible people represent simpler programming, easier to manage, perhaps requiring less computational overhead for complex internal choices.
Easier to run on the system.
Potentially. And this whole idea gets even weirder when you start looking at some of the odd experiences people report having.
Right. Glitches in the matrix stuff. We actually asked our listeners for their strangest moments, the ones that felt like reality skipped a beat, maybe with some of that NPC energy sprinkled in. We got some great anonymous sources. Let's start with one called the Dialogue Loop Barista.
Okay. So this story is from a regular customer. They said the barista repeated their entire order and the usual farewell twice. Back to back, exactly the same words, same intonation, like their script just reset and played again.
Whoa, like a broken record, but a human one. Freaky. Okay, second one. Physics fail commute.
This one's interesting. A driver sees someone in the car next to them. Vibrating. Like intensely vibrating, seemingly involuntarily.
Vibrating, like physically shaking.
Apparently. And then, the moment the traffic started moving again, the person just stopped vibrating. Abruptly. And the weird kicker, the witness's dash cam footage of that specific moment was corrupted. Unreadable.
Okay, that is weird. Corrupted footage, too.
Yeah.
Makes you really question what happened. All right, last one. The uncanny crowd sync.
This listener was walking through a really busy park, and suddenly everyone around them just stopped. Mid-action, talking, walking, everything. Complete silence for maybe 3 seconds. Then everyone just resumed exactly where they left off, as if nothing happened.
And the listener.
Felt like they were the only one who noticed this massive, bizarre pause. Everyone else was oblivious.
Wow, okay, those are classic glitch stories, aren't they? You've got repetition, weird physics stuff, that eerie synchronization.
Definitely. Now, from a standard psychological view, you could explain these. Misperception, maybe our senses aren't perfect recorders.
Or confirmation bias. Seeing what you expect to see if you're already thinking about glitches.
Exactly. Or maybe even brief, tiny neurological events in the observer that go unnoticed.
Right.
Or just really, really weird coincidences happen sometimes.
But if you put on the simulation goggles.
Then it looks different. The looping barista, that's a script bug, a dialogue routine stuck on repeat.
The vibrating driver.
Could be a corrupted character animation, a physics engine glitch, the corrupted dash cam, maybe interference from the system correcting the error.
And the crowd freeze.
System lag. Maybe the simulation paused background processes for a second to save resources and the observer somehow wasn't affected.
It's how much these stories sound like actual computer bugs or video game errors.
Yeah.
That's what makes them so compelling, right? If you're open to the simulation idea.
Precisely. The simulation hypothesis gives you a framework where these aren't just random weird things. They become potential evidence. System failures, exactly matching the kinds of errors you'd expect in a complex artificial reality.
Which really brings us right to the edge, doesn't it? Could this all mean, are we actually living inside a giant computer program? So let's really dive into that core idea, simulation theory itself. What exactly are we talking about when we say our reality might not be, well, base reality?
Okay, so simulation theory fundamentally is the idea that everything we experience, the universe, ourselves, consciousness, it's all part of an incredibly sophisticated computer simulation run by some other more advanced civilization.
Sounds like pure sci-fi, but philosophers actually take this seriously. There are arguments for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The most famous is probably Nick Bostrom's simulation argument from back in 2003.
Right, Bostrom's argument. How does that go again?
It's basically probabilistic. He argues that if a civilization becomes advanced enough to create highly realistic simulations of its ancestors...
Like simulating their own past.
Exactly. And if they would likely choose to run many such simulations, then the sheer number of simulated beings across all those simulations would eventually vastly outnumber the beings in the original base reality.
So statistically?
Statistically, it becomes much more likely that any given consciousness like ours is actually inside one of those simulations rather than in the one original reality.
Okay, so if we are in a simulation, what would be the clues, the potential features or giveaways of this artificial world?
Well, proponents point to a few things. One idea is physics itself. Maybe the fundamental laws aren't fundamental laws, but algorithms, computational rules.
Like the code the simulation runs on.
Sort of. Think about things like the Planck length, the smallest possible unit of space, or the speed of light. Maybe those aren't just natural constants, but represent the simulation's processing limits, like the pixel resolution or the maximum clock speed of the universe's computer.
Wow, okay. What else?
Resource management. This is a big one. Simulating an entire universe down to the quantum level would take, well, an unimaginable amount of computing power.
Probably impossible, even for an advanced civilization.
Maybe not impossible, but incredibly demanding. So the simulators might need to optimize, cut corners. Maybe by only rendering reality in detail when someone is looking, like how video games don't render stuff that's off screen.
Or by making most of the inhabitants simpler.
Exactly. To save processing power, maybe the simulation runs simpler code, less complex internal states, for the vast majority of conscious entities within it, the background characters.
The ones that we might perceive as having NPC energy.
Precisely. So in this view, NPCs aren't just a metaphor we came up with. They could be a literal design choice, an efficiency measure built into the simulation's architecture.
That's quite a thought. So let's compare them side by side. Psychology versus simulation theory.
Okay, so take high suggestibility. Psychology says it's natural variation in cognitive traits.
Simulation theory might say programmed NPC trait, more receptive to the simulation's input.
Could be. What about conformity, following the crowd? Psychology calls it social pressure, group dynamics.
Simulation theory might call it NPC herd behavior scripts, following the programmed path.
Plausible. Repetitive behavior. Psychology sees habit, routine, maybe even OCD-like tendencies.
Simulation theory. NPC script loops. Maybe minor glitches causing repetition.
Right, and those really glitchy actions we talked about. Psychology, misperception, coincidence, maybe a neurological blip.
Simulation theory. System lag, rendering errors, corrupted data.
Yeah. And even mentalism, stage hypnosis. Psychology says it's clever psychological manipulation exploiting natural suggestibility.
Simulation theory might speculate it's exploiting vulnerabilities in the simpler programming of NPCs, finding ways to issue commands.
It's definitely a different lens. What's interesting about the simulation idea is how it could potentially tie all these different weird things together. High suggestibility, conformity, glitches, maybe even psychic phenomena. It offers one possible unifying explanation.
It's a single framework.
Exactly. And that need for computational efficiency, it gives a motive. A reason why NPCs in some form might actually exist within a simulated reality. It's not just about making it look real, but making it run efficiently.
Okay, so if this reality is a giant cosmic computer program, could people maybe interact with the code? Could that explain some of the really out there claims people make? Like psychic abilities? This definitely pushes us into science fiction territory, doesn't it?
Mm.
Sci-fi has been playing with these ideas forever. I mean, The Matrix is the obvious one.
Oh, absolutely. The Matrix is probably the defining pop culture example. Neo literally seeing and manipulating the code of his reality.
And the agents, they're basically sentient programs policing the system. And you see glitches, moments where the simulation breaks down.
Yeah, and think about Westworld too. The hosts, the artificial beings starting to gain consciousness, breaking their programming loops.
It explores that idea of consciousness arising within an artificial system.
Exactly. And even video games like Cyberpunk 2077 have mechanics about hacking into people's cybernetics to influence or control them. It's all tapping into this idea of reality or consciousness being manipulable code.
Sci-fi gives us the language, right? The metaphors. Red pill, blue pill, glitch in the matrix. They help us grapple with these huge abstract concepts.
They provide a sort of philosophical sandbox to explore the what-ifs. And yeah, often in these stories, characters within the simulation develop strange abilities, powers that shouldn't be possible.
Which brings us back to things like telepathy. It seems impossible based on our current physics, but inside a simulation.
It opens up possibilities. What if it's not a violation of physics, but an interaction with the simulation's underlying structure?
How might that even work? Telepathy in a simulated world.
Well, pure speculation here, but maybe consciousnesses are like nodes on a network.
Okay.
Telepathy could be like having special permissions, the ability to directly access the data packets, the thoughts of another node, bypassing normal communication channels.
Or maybe it's like reading the code.
Yeah, maybe some individuals develop the ability to perceive or even subtly alter the underlying code of other simulated beings. Perhaps it's easier to do that with the supposedly simpler code of NPCs.
Or maybe some minds are designed to be linked.
Could be. Some parts of the simulation might involve shared consciousness networks by design.
So, people claiming psychic powers. Maybe they're not breaking the laws of physics, but they're figuring out system commands, stumbling into debug modes.
That's one way to frame it within the simulation hypothesis. Maybe they're like players figuring out cheat codes, or maybe they're more like the agents in the Matrix entities with built-in system privileges that seem like powers to others.
Could telepathy be like a latent ability, coded into some people, maybe the player characters, but not others?
Possibly. Maybe it's not activated in most, or maybe it's deliberately absent from the more resource-light NPC templates for stability reasons or to conserve processing power.
So telepathy stops being this mystical woo-woo thing.
And potentially becomes a feature or a bug or an exploit within the operating system of reality itself. It recontextualizes the whole phenomenon.
Mind-bending is right. Wow. Okay. Wow. We've gone pretty deep down the rabbit hole there, exploring simulation theory and code-reading telepaths. Maybe it's time to pull back a bit. Try to debug our own thinking here.
Yeah, probably a good idea. It's easy to get carried away with the speculation. It's fascinating, but we need that dose of skepticism.
And definitely circle back to the NPC label itself. We really need to stress again, slapping that label on actual human beings is, well, it's problematic.
Deeply problematic.
Oh.
Even if it starts as a joke or internet shorthand, it's dehumanizing. It ignores the incredible, unknown complexity inside every single person's head.
And psychology gives us solid, rational explanations for a lot of this stuff, right? Suggestibility, conformity, even repetitive behaviors.
Absolutely. Cognitive biases, social pressures, personality differences, situational factors. These are well-studied reasons why people act the ways they do. We don't necessarily need a simulation hypothesis to explain them.
We also have to remember our own biases. How much does just knowing about simulation theory or seeing the NTC meme everywhere influence how we interpret things?
That's huge. Observer bias. If you go looking for NPCs, you'll probably start seeing ambiguous behavior as NPC behavior. You fit the data to the theory you already like.
So maybe seeing NPC energy everywhere says more about the person doing the observing, more about our own mental state, our need to categorize things we don't fully understand.
It's definitely possible. It could reflect our own detachment or frustration more than anything objective about the other person.
Because, bottom line, as cool and compelling as simulation theory can be, we just don't know.
We don't. It's philosophy, it's speculation, it's not proven science. There's no definitive evidence either way.
So stay curious, right? Keep observing the weirdness, keep an open mind about these big questions.
But also, approach other people with empathy. Remember, we rarely know what's truly going on inside someone else's experience. Acknowledge the vast unknown.
Okay, well, on that note, here's one last little thought to chew on just to keep things weird.
Uh-oh.
What if
Yeah.
in someone else's simulation,
Yeah.
we're the NPCs, just background characters walking around in their main quest line?
Okay, yeah. That'll keep you up at night. A truly mind-bending thought.
And that wraps up our simulated journey for today on the NPC Energy podcast. But the conversation doesn't end here. We really want to know what you think.
Yeah, what's your take on all this? Does high suggestibility hint at something deeper, like simpler programming? Or is it just normal human variation?
Have you had any experiences that felt like a total glitch in the system? Or encountered someone radiating that unmistakable NPC energy?
Let us know. Find us on social media. We're at NPC Energy Podcast. You can use the hashtag NPC Energy, or maybe hashtag glitch mode activated. Share your stories, your theories.
And hey, if you enjoyed this little trip down the simulated rabbit hole, help us out. Subscribe to the NPC Energy Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review, 5 stars, obviously, unless your programming prevents it.
Yeah, and tell your friends. Spread the word.
So actually tell that one friend, you the one,
Whoa.
the one you secretly suspect might be an agent monitoring you.
Yeah. Maybe don't tell them why you're recommending the show.
Good point. Until next time, everyone, for our next simulated journey, stay glitchy.